The U.S. delegation to the United Nations has circulated a draft response to punish North Korea for its rapidly progressing nuclear program. The resolution requires the approval of Russia and China, who are both opposed to further sanctions. U.S. President Donald Trump says that military action against North Korea was not his first choice.
We will not be putting up with what's happening in North Korea. I believe that President Xi agrees with me 100%. He doesn't want to see what's happening there either. We had a very, very frank and very strong phone call. We're going to see what happens. We'll see what happens. Certainly that's not our first choice, but we will see what happens.
And South Korea is concerned Pyongyang will launch an intercontinental ballistic missile on Saturday to mark the anniversary of North Korea's founding day. In a counter move, South Korea and the United States added 4 more launchers to their anti-missile defense system on Thursday.
정부는 각종 탄도미사일 발사와
The government tentatively deployed the remaining 4 THAAD system launches as part of measures to protect our people's lives and security from North Korea's threats of nuclear weapons and missiles, which they are further enhancing through various ballistic missile tests and powerful nuclear tests.
For more on this story, let's go live now to Joseph Kim, who's following the story for us from Seoul. Now, Joseph, Donald Trump saying we'll see what happens. Are his words going to be enough to reassure South Korea and the rest of the region?
Well, I think actually those words heighten tensions on the Korean Peninsula, and it's actually the second time we've heard U.S. President Donald Trump say that, especially when asked by reporters if military strike is an option. The first time he said, we'll see. This time he says, we'll see what happens. But that essentially means that it continues the rhetoric that all options are on the table for the United States in terms of North Korea, and that includes a military strike, and a military strike against North Korea would enhancely and definitely affect the population here in South Korea, especially in the densely populated Seoul. So it actually is more worrisome for especially South Koreans living here on the Korean Peninsula that military option is still something that the United States is pursuing rather than going for sanctions or otherwise diplomacy.
And the South Korean president is currently in Russia, where he's been discussing the nuclear crisis with Vladimir Putin. The lack of action, or rather the lack of an initiative for diplomacy by the U.S. president, has a lot of people talking about the possibility of the Russian leader stepping in to fill this void. Is that something South Koreans are expecting or are hoping to see?
I don't know if we can necessarily say that it's something that South Koreans are hoping to see, but we're seeing 2 sides of the spectrum. We're seeing the United States, who are pushing for more sanctions as well as being tough and giving a hardline approach to North Korea in terms of saying all options are on the table. And then we're also seeing the side of Russia and China, who are saying that we need to restart talks with North Korea, that this needs to be done in a calm and timely manner to ensure that not only do we pressure North Korea, but we ensure that we're doing this through diplomacy and political means. This is why we heard from Russia's President Vladimir Putin saying that if we do continue to pressure and add sanctions on North Korea, that we'll see a planetary catastrophe. Now, these are exact quotes that the president said, and currently with his meeting with Moon, something that we've been seeing is that South Korean President Moon Jae-in has been pushing for more sanctions, whether it's on oil or North Korean assets, and it's something that Vladimir Putin has been very reluctant on, as he doesn't want to add more sanctions, which is something that China has also expressed as well.
And with regards to what could happen, is there something being done to prepare for the worst? We understand that South Korea and the U.S. have added 4 more launchers to that missile defense system on Thursday. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, I think this trip by South Korean President Moon Jae-in is one of the solutions that South Korea, as well as the United States, is hoping for to try to get Russia and China on board on the United Nations Security Council to adopt this new resolution to add more sanctions on North Korea, even though it is being met with pushback. But on top of sanctions, we're seeing that South Korea is also approaching this to strength. They're trying to add more artillery as well as weapons in their arsenal. We're seeing new ballistic missile tests happening in South Korea. We're also seeing live fire drills, not only from the Navy, but as well as the Air Force with F-15 fighter jets doing live fire drills. So we're seeing a lot of show of strength. And as you mentioned, the newly added 4 launchers, which tentatively completes the THAAD anti-missile defense system here in South Korea, which is supposed to counter North Korea's missile threat. However, it was met with a lot of opposition in the deployment site, where locals continue to protest and try to make sure that this wasn't completed. However, it does seem that the USFK, the U.S. Forces Korea, were able to complete this installation of this THAAD system that has seen a lot of opposition from China and Russia.
All right, Joseph Kim, live for us in Seoul. Thank you very much for that update.